Hi everyone, I'm Janine and this is my podcast, Quest for You. I welcome you and I thank you for your time listening to this podcast and spending some time thinking about some of the ideas and thoughts that I put out here. This is episode 241, A Man Lying on the Ground. Almost all of my episodes are action-oriented. An idea on how to change something that's not working, a different perspective on commonly held beliefs, some motivation to push you, my listeners, out of stagnation and forward, a new approach to shake things up, and lots of suggestions to help you become the person you dream of being. But today's episode is different. When I normally end with a quote or with an encouragement for you to go out and try something, today I'm ending with a question to all of us, a question that I don't have an answer to. And I am asking all of us today to think about the man lying on the ground. This is the title of a blog post by Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist. I shared his posts before. I read his blog frequently because he makes me think. And when I read this article, I immediately knew that I wanted to share it with you. Because I've been thinking for some time now to talk to you about this man lying on the ground. I see him almost every day in my city. He's on my mind a lot. Now I don't know where you live, but I'm sure he's in your city as well. And I don't know about you, but as a listener to this podcast, I'm pretty sure he's on your mind as well. In this post, Coelho has found an answer to the question I've been carrying inside ever since I moved to Oakland. In suburbia, Texas, I wasn't confronted much with him, but here I see him daily. And often I don't look, not because I don't care, but because it hurts. Not because I'm used to it, but because I cannot understand it. Not because I already know why, but because I don't know why. I don't have an answer. Even after 4 years living in the Bay Area, after talking to people smarter than me that lived here all their life, I still don't have an answer. Sometimes I don't always look away because I am seeking an answer, hoping to find an explanation of why he's laying there. But I always walk past. I never stop. I never do anything. Have I intentionally thought about what I could do? Probably not. And that is why I'm here today, with this article from Paulo Coelho about the man lying on the ground. Because he might have an answer for us. I'm not proposing that he's right, but he does offer a solution. And one that involves some risk. And I'm not sure yet that I could do what he did about the situation. But the key is this. He did something. He took action. Whereas I don't. And many other people don't either. And that is why we need to at least think about it. Because without action, there's no change. Without trying something, we will never really know. And that is my call out today. Not to accept. Not to look away. But to think more. To come up with ideas, and then to try them out, even if they fail, even if they involve some risk, even if they are uncomfortable. But we need to do something about the man lying on the ground. So here's Coelho's article. A man lying on the ground. On July 1st, at 1:05 in the afternoon, there was a man of about 50, lying on the seafront in Copacabana. I glanced down at him as I walked by, then continued onto the stall where I usually go for a drink of coconut water. As a resident of Rio de Janeiro, I must have passed by such men, women or children hundreds or even thousands of times. As someone who has traveled widely, I have seen the same scene in almost every country I have visited, from wealthy Sweden to impoverished Romania. I have seen people lying on the ground in all weathers, in the icy winters of Madrid or Paris or New York, where they stay close to the hot air vents outside the subway stations. In the scalding Libyan sun, amongst the rubble of buildings destroyed by years of war. People lying on the ground, drunk, homeless, tired, are not a new sight to anyone. I drank my coconut water. I needed to get home quickly because I had an interview with Juan Arias from the Spanish newspaper El País. On the way back, I noticed that the man was still there, lying in the sun, and everyone who passed did exactly the same as I had. Glanced at him and then moved on. Although I didn't know it, my soul was weary of seeing the same scene over and over. When I passed the man again, something stronger than myself made me kneel down and try to lift him up. He did not respond. I turned his head and noticed blood on his temple. What now? Was it a bad wound? I dabbed at his skin with my t-shirt. It didn't look like anything serious. At that moment, the man began muttering something about, "Make them stop hitting me." So he was alive. Now, what I needed to do was get him out of the sun and to call the police. I stopped the first man who passed and asked him to help me drag the injured man over to the shade between the seafront and the beach. He was wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase and various packages, but he put these down to help me. His soul was weary of seeing the same scene too. Once we had placed the man in the shade, I headed off to my house. I knew there was a military police post nearby where I could ask for help. But before I got there, I met two policemen. "There's a man who's been beaten up opposite number so-and-so," I said. I've laid him down on the sand. It would be a good idea to call an ambulance. The two policemen said they would take steps. Right, I had done my duty. A Boy Scout is always prepared. My good deed for the day. The problem was in other hands now. It was up to them to deal with it. And the Spanish journalist would be arriving at my house at any moment. I had not gone 10 steps when a stranger stopped me. In garbled Portuguese, he said, "I've already told the police about the man. They said that since he's not a thief, he's not their problem." I did not let the man finish. I walked back to where the policemen were standing, convinced that they would know who I was, that I wrote for the newspapers, that I appeared on television. I did so under the false impression that sometimes success can help to resolve matters. "Are you some kind of official?" one of them asked when I became more insistent in my request for help. They had no idea who I was. "No, but we're going to resolve this problem right now." There I was, all sweaty, dressed in a blood-stained t-shirt and a pair of Bermuda shorts, made from some old cut-down jeans. I was just an ordinary, anonymous man with no authority, apart from my own weariness with all those years of seeing people lying on the ground and never doing anything about it. And that changed everything. There are moments when you're suddenly free from any inhibitions or fears. There are moments when your eyes have a different light, and people know that you are absolutely serious. The policeman went with me and called an ambulance. On my way back home, I went over the 3 lessons I had learned from that walk. A. Anyone can abandon an action when it's purely at the stage of romanticism. B. There's always someone to tell you, now that you've started, finish. And C. Everyone has the authority of an official when he or she is absolutely convinced of what he or she is doing. So I'm leaving you with some thoughts today about the man lying on the ground in probably your city as well. And maybe you are, just like me, inspired to take some action next time you see him. Much love.